You can't think anything or do anything on any given day without it having an impact on the entire world. You get this, right? You get how not only your thoughts causative, but they also influence everything around you. But everything around you influences everything around that, and everything around that. And so often it is about the courage to listen, to be present, to be compassionate, and to offer healing in every situation. You know, with all the changes that are going on in the world, it's time that we let go of this idea of combat, of fighting. We're not going to fight the global crisis. We're not going to fight racism. We're not going to fight injustice. We're going to regenerate how we do things. One of my favorite stories about St. Francis is the story of him and a wolf in the village of Gubbio. And so the story is that this particular village was threatened by this rogue wolf, and they were endangered, and they weren't able to defeat it in any way. So they called in Francis. And Francis went into the forest, and he met with the wolf. As the story goes, he actually talked to the wolf. But what Francis discovered is this wolf wasn't a monster. It wasn't a huge, frightening beast. It was simply a hungry, lonely, damaged creature. And as he sat with this wolf with deep compassion, he asked the wolf, "What do you need?" The wolf was hungry. The wolf was lonely. The wolf wanted to get back to its own family, but found itself sick and alone. And so Francis made an agreement with the wolf. If the village will feed you and help you get back literally on your feet, will you stop frightening them and accosting them? And the wolf agreed. And as the story goes, the village fed the wolf, nurtured the wolf, and in time the wolf went back into the forest, back to its own kind, and there was no longer any threat. And you know, we all have wolves, do we not? We all have things that are frightening to us. Do we have the courage to sit with the thing that we are afraid of and to listen with compassion and to ask, what does this need? Because in doing so, we practice this idea of regeneration, not battle, not combat, but re-engagement. And so here's my question for you. Are you willing to meet with the wolf? So just think for a moment, relax, maybe even close your eyes if it feels appropriate, and just sit with the thing that creates fear, that creates anxiety, and let it come close. It's not going to hurt you here. And ask the question, what do you need? Perhaps it's an anxiety about money, or an anxiety or a stress about a relationship. Maybe it has something to do with work. Maybe it has something to do with a place where you are engaged in. Maybe it's a fear of being alone. Can you sit with that fear? Can you engage with that fear? Can you ask that fear what it needs? Perhaps more time. Perhaps a high-stake conversation. Perhaps just listening or being attentive or being nurturing. Can you give it that? Can you allow this fear, this wolf, to regenerate itself into something living, dynamic, loving, and supportive? If every thought we have and every action we take has an impact on the world, how great this world would be is if every thought and every action is filled with compassion, with the intention of regeneration.